ABC Kinderteach presents George and Martha. There's George, there's Martha. Written and illustrated by James Marshall. Five stories about two great friends. Story number 1, Split Pea Soup. Martha was very fond of, which means she liked, making split pea soup. Sometimes she made it all day long, pots and pots of split pea soup. And this little sign says "Soup's on," which means she's cooking soup. If there was one thing that George was not fond of, it was split pea soup. As a matter of fact, George hated split pea soup more than anything else in the world, but it was so hard to tell Martha. One day, after George had eaten 10 bowls of Martha's soup, well, that's a lot, he said to himself, "I just can't stand another bowl, not even another spoonful." 10 bowls of anything is a lot, isn't it? So, while Martha was out in the kitchen, George carefully poured the rest of his soup into his loafers or his shoes under the table. "Now she will think I have eaten it." But Martha was watching from the kitchen. "Ooh, I don't think I would pour soup into my shoes. Oh, that would be awful, walking home with soup in my shoes." "How do you expect to walk home with your loafers," or shoes, "full of split pea soup?" she asked George. "Oh dear," said George, "you saw me." "And why didn't you tell me that you hate my split pea soup?" "I didn't want to hurt your feelings," said George. "That's silly," said Martha. "Friends should always tell each other the truth. As a matter of fact, I don't like split pea soup very much myself. I only like to make it. From now on, you'll never have to eat that awful soup again." So Martha's saying, "I don't like split pea soup. I do like to make it, but I don't like to eat it." What a relief, which means he was no longer worried about it. George sighed. "Would you like some chocolate chip cookies instead?" asked Martha. "Boy, I sure would." Oh, that would be lovely or great," said George. "Then you shall have them," said his friend. And look at, she made cookies right there. Story number 2, The Flying Machine. "I'm going to be the first of my species," his species being other hippos, "to fly," said George. "Then why aren't you flying?" asked Martha. "It seems to me that you are still on the ground." "You are right," said George. "I don't seem to be going anywhere at all." "Maybe the basket is too heavy," said Martha. So he's not taking off, so she says, "Well, maybe the basket's too heavy." So what do you think he's going to do? "Yes," said George, "I think you are right again. Maybe if I climb out the basket will be lighter. So if he climbs out and he's this heavy hippo, do you think the basket's going to be lighter? Yeah, of course, of course. Even if you and I climbed out of the basket, it'd still be lighter than it would be if we were still in the basket. So what's going to happen to the balloon then? It doesn't seem to have any ropes to hold it down. Oh no, I hope it doesn't fly away. Do you think?
Oh dear, cried George. Now what have I done? There goes my flying machine.
That's all right, said Martha. I would rather have you down here with me. Oh, that's such a nice thing that she said. She said, you know what, even though your hot air balloon took off without you, I'd rather have you down here spending time with me. That's a really nice thing for her to say. Story number 3, The Tub. George was fond of, which means he liked to, peeking in windows. Ooh, you could get into trouble that way, right? One day, George peeked in on Martha. And what's Martha doing? She's taking a bath. Ooh, he is going to be in trouble, isn't he? Yes, I bet he is. He never did that again. We are friends, said Martha, but there is such a thing as privacy, which means not having anyone bother you. So she was so mad she took the tub and threw it on his head. That is silly, very silly. Story number 4, The Mirror. How I love to look at myself in the mirror, said Martha. Every chance she got, Martha looked at herself in the mirror. I wonder if that's going to lead to problems. Sometimes Martha even woke up during the night to look at herself. This is fun, she giggled. But George was getting tired of watching Martha look at herself in the mirror. One day, George pasted a silly picture he had drawn of Martha onto the mirror, and there's the silly picture right there. What a scare it gave Martha. Oh dear, she cried. What has happened to me?
Oh, that's what happens when you look at yourself too much in the mirror, said George.
Then I won't do it ever again, said Martha, and she didn't. Well, yes, you shouldn't look at yourself too much in the mirror, but sometimes you do need to look in the mirror, so sometimes you probably should look in the mirror. The last story, The Tooth. One day, when George was skating to Martha's house, he tripped and fell, and he broke off his right front tooth, his favorite tooth, too. And look, he must have tripped there, and he went sailing through the air, and his flowers are in the air, and his hat's in the air. When he got to Martha's, George cried his eyes out, which means he cried a lot.
Oh, dear me, he cried. I look so funny without my favorite tooth.
There, said Martha, which means it'll be okay, it'll be okay. The next day, George went to the dentist. Look, it's a hippo too. The dentist replaced George's missing tooth with a lovely gold one. That looks pretty fancy. And the dentist's name is Buck McTooth. When Martha saw George's lovely new golden tooth, she was very happy. George, she exclaimed, you look so handsome and distinguished, which means very nice looking, with your new tooth. And George was happy too.
Oh, that's what friends are for, he said. They always look on the bright side, and they always know how to cheer you up.
But they also tell you the truth, said Martha with a smile. So she's saying,
You know what? I'm not just saying your tooth looks nice, but I really think it does look nice.